Hey, Voyager folks, joining. We're hoping that you guys have the ability to like raise your hand and stuff like that. We're not quite sure. We haven't done this before, obviously. So
yeah.
We do also have, if you can't raise your hands, we have the little stage chat channel under events where everyone can kind of happily chat in there and also ask questions in there if it's not going to work in here. What we definitely hope is you guys are. Let me just like see. There's some settings here I can mess with. Show requests. Allow. Okay, so it looks like requests are turned on for everyone. So the intention with this is to be like an AMA. So basically, you have a question or a comment, you want to put something out there. Ideally, you'll be able to raise your hand, and we can click on you and let you speak, and then we can kind of roll like that.
Cool.
Looks like the system, it's going to work. I think we're good. And all 9 of us are here, so I think we're ready to start.
Do we have a jingle or not or something? No, eh?
Yeah, we do. Luke, play the jingle.
I don't have the jingle. But hello everyone, and thanks so much for like coming. Yeah, whatever time zone you guys are in and all that. Welcome to our first
100%.
AMA.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome guys.
Cool. Well, I guess might as well open and just start kicking things off. Yeah, I mean, like this is the first time that we've kind of really started to connect with the community at a human level. We hope to be doing or intend to be doing a lot of this going forward. We can all be making stuff happen in the Discord and having more of these sort of regular chats and meetups and different sort of activities going on. And you know, I think a lot of you have come in and have seen our first post that we put out on the Mirror, the kind of welcome to Voyager, where we're sort of outlining the blueprint about what this project is all about, what our hopes and ambitions are for it, and I suppose our reason for creating it in the first place, and what the ideas have been between myself, Luke, and Ivano. So maybe I'll just open up with a little bit of sort of intro stuff, which is ultimately in the post, but what Voyager is all about. And then we'll kind of introduce ourselves a bit, and then quite happily we can kind of open up, let some other people chat. And then we thought it'd be cool to kind of run over a bit of the blueprint of what we have in mind for what this creative organization can be building and moving towards, at least what's in our mind right now, and overall what the intention is for this kind of season 0 stage of what we aspire to become a creator DAO that's very much owned and governed by its members, and we can build some epic stuff together. So at the top, Voyager is setting out to be a creator DAO for art, music, and media with a community focused on resonance and creative practice. Our intention is that this community is a space to be in resonance and flow and connection with the other artists and musicians and creatives who are experimenting in and interested in Web3 and possibilities that are emerging in that space. So we're here, as I said, to establish this Web3 creative organization and to become a community of artists making stuff, having fun, and getting into a regular practice of, you know, making art, jamming together, sharing what we're working on with each other, getting inspired by each other, creating those kind of feedback loops and connection with the members of the community, which doesn't have to be, in our mind, prescriptive or systemic in any way. We're not looking to give you tasks to do or all that kind of stuff. You're not going to have deliverables if you don't want. It's just about you showing up, and ideally this community and space working for you in a way that just supports you in your practice, so that you can kind of, it sounds like a lame cliche, but essentially be your best self, your best creative self. So our thought is that the internet in general, and what many of us are probably experiencing in the kind of crypto and NFT sort of degen lifestyle, can be quite counteractive to your kind of to your creative output and your focus. And we as creative people will know, you know, it's very common for they're kind of, to be a musician who hasn't made anything for a while, or a writer that you haven't actually written a piece in a little while, or whatever it is. It's very common to kind of be slightly out of sync with actually producing work and finishing it off, and enjoying being in that sort of flow state and productive kind of rhythm. And between the three of us, because we're all artists and creatives ourselves, when we were kicking things off, we just thought, at the least, like, once we boil it all down at its most basic essence, it would be of value to have a community space where we're kind of vibing off each other's energy, and it becomes fun to create stuff, because then you can come back and share it with the community, get feedback, jam on what other people are doing, to be able to see how other people are shipping projects in Web3 space, or what platforms they're using, or, you know, what form their thing took for distribution, or whatever it is, that we can kind of go, hey, that project was cool. And we're kind of breaking it down for each other, like, yeah, I use this tool, it worked like this, and so on and so on. And then over time, this thing can snowball into essentially a font of knowledge that we can all benefit from and enjoy, and just be making great stuff and having a good time. That's pretty much the most simple version of it. As you all know, we're open right now for what is season 0. So as the DAO isn't, you know, formally created, or we haven't had the Genesis event and things like that, we're kind of in our kind of opening season, or pre-season, if you like. And our intention is simply focusing on the community itself, starting to establish some of these rhythms and kind of relationships between ourselves, and getting a bit of that kind of culture and activity going, focusing on that basically. And in the meantime, building out sort of the early infrastructure for what the organization is going to involve. With our focus on art, music, and media, basically means that we're building a curated catalog on Zora, and collaborating with the team at Zora to make that stuff happen. We have our zine on Mira, and other ideas for sort of media projects that can happen, and no doubt there'll be media emerging from the community as well, and many projects that can sort of spiral out of here and be happening in the community. And then the music piece is our ambition to create something of a Web3 music label, whatever that means, and be exploring that at the same time. So season 0 is kind of a time for us to be getting all that stuff set up, before we move into the next phase. So I feel like I've said plenty there. So I'd love to turn over to Luke and Ivano to introduce themselves and what they're into.
Yeah. I just wanted to add something to what you were saying.
Sure.
I think, like, at large, if you see this as an experiment, like, we are like starting to understand how artists can work together in a community. And, you know, like, I think this is something that so far none of us is used to it. You know, like, if you're an artist yourself, most likely you've done your thing, you have your website, you know, like, you curate your personal branding, and we are used to work in solitude.
These sort of individuals,
Yeah, and this is an experiment that everyone will eventually end up doing. Is like, what does it mean to operate, to create in an environment that is not just you? You know, it's not just you in the world. There's also people next to you, and you can feel each other. And I think we haven't seen this before, or at least, I mean, with Web3 and all that jazz, this is where everyone is starting to go. So for me, it feels like, okay, let's make this experiment. Let's see what happens when artists work under the same community.
That's good. And yeah, for me to riff off that, I would just say that, yeah, we're sort of, you know, we're trying to bring us around a center, get ourselves in rhythm, you know, and start making, sort of like a spiraling amount of just energy in one space. And like, look, doing an online community is very different to doing that more tangible, physical something. It's just much easier to have a physical relationship with you guys and girls and anybody really. So doing this is going to be a lot harder, but that's where I kind of like I'm doing this course, and it's kind of getting me into the zone of how I can kind of make like an open source. We can make like an open source blueprint of practice, sort of getting us in a sort of rhythm that can kind of connect us all together, and hopefully Voyager can just be that sort of like point of focus in the center while we're all doing our different things, and hopefully it'll just start swirling around and make some magic really. But yeah, so
yeah, sorry.
I was going to say my name's Luke, and Ivano was just talking before, and Nick before that, and we can't wait to kind of meet you guys for real. So whenever you guys come up, please feel free to ask any questions you want when it comes to it.
Just a really quick one. I'd love to bounce back to Luke and Ivano again and just ask, maybe can you each give a sort of a quick version and intro into yourselves, into your practice, where you're coming from in the sort of creative fields, maybe maybe where you're based, little incredibly brief bio.
Yeah, so I'm in Germany at the moment. Normally I'm down in Byron Bay in Australia, but now I'm sort of floating because of family stuff. And my background's been with computers most of my life, but I have a physical art practice, and most of the stuff I've done has been sort of like concept design and like what would call like story worlds and stuff. And for film and commercials and for directors or whatever it is. And about 5 years ago I got heavily into virtual reality and using that as a way to sort of extend out of just this kind of point and click stuff with computers, because I was doing a lot of physical art, and that's grown into this sort of like world building stuff with 3D, and that's kind of extended this like just keep playing with whatever. And so now just playing a lot with trying to like learning how to make music and sound, and it seems to all be coming together as long as I can keep myself in a sort of focused showing up and practice. It seems to be the thing. So that's the kind of gift I want to bring to Voyager, some of these blueprints of how what I've learned to keep myself going. And but that's I've many different things I do, but that's the kind of basic thing, is that kind of media production, story and design and stuff like that, and art.
So this is it my turn right now?
So.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Ivano. I have a background. Let's not talk about work later. I'm into like I work for a lot of time like in photography and graphic design, and worked for a while in advertising. So that's a bit my background. And 4 years ago, I went deep into VR, just right after Luke. He actually was the one pushing me in that direction. And since then, I've been experimenting VR as a medium to create art and create design. And in the past few years, I was focusing on creating like new visual languages, like working with different kind of processes. This is a bit what I like to do, is like creating stuff in different ways. And I also play music for a while. Since I was a kid, but then in the past 7 years, I started to do some more, electronic music, bit of Ableton. I'm a bass player. Into the regular music, I do that. I spend a lot of practice doing mainly digital art, 3D and VR art. as well as music. So I am bad with routines, but this is my one of my bad part. But I still try to practice as much as I can, and I really like can get into the state of flow either when I'm playing music through repetition, or just going with the flow when you do more art. Yeah, so I'm trying to um, foster that kind of state of flow, because I think this is what we all feed in. Yeah, that was about me.
Awesome. I'll take a quick turn as well. So my name is Nick, obviously, and I'm a musician, creative, artistic writer type person. I studied and worked as a journalist and in media back in the day. My sort of origin stories. I'm based out of Australia, from Sydney originally. Did a lot of radio and broadcasting and music industry and events and festivals and all that kind of stuff back in the day. That's kind of where I come from. But I guess the most basic version is that I'm a musician in terms of my creative and art practice. That's kind of my number one thing that I love to do. And I got involved in the Web3 and crypto space in 2017. I've kind of been here ever since, doing stuff. And yeah, just kind of like sort of loved everything about it, loved the sort of counterculture element of it, the sort of creative tech that we all know that the kind of the former Web 2 centralized internet type space is super not conducive for, well, human civilization in general, but certainly for creatives and artists and stuff like that. And all the back and forth about Spotify this week and stuff, and all the threads and everything that we're seeing on Twitter is kind of bearing this out. Like, we all know how terrible and ridiculous that kind of paradigm is. And, you know, most likely Web3 isn't, certainly isn't a finished product yet. It's still very much an experimental new phase for the internet that's being constructed now. And that's why I find it such an exciting place to be a part of. And as you kind of get down the rabbit hole a little bit and you're meeting other people in the industry and projects and things that are going on, I just find it a really exciting thing and place to be a part of. And so on this sort of origin story thing, I'm based out here in Byron Bay, where Luke is generally from. As he said, he's over in Germany at the moment. But we met over here in 2020. Wait, 2020?
I think so.
Yeah. And so we met and became friends at that time. And I was kind of way into the Web3 thing. And then just basically between the three of us being friends and getting way more into the Web3 thing all together, with everything happening in DAOs and NFTs and crypto and everything last year, we all got way into it. And Voyager is ultimately what emerged from our collaboration and what we're interested in building. And it kind of turned into this thing where early days it was like, you know, this would be cool. We can do art and different stuff and sort of publish in these sort of in the Web3 space or whatever that is, whatever that means. But as the project evolved, it turned into this, because this like seemed like the most interesting thing to do and what we're inspired to do. And you know, Voyager is something that had been in my mind for a few years, I suppose, in different forms. But it was sort of starting out as like, it'd be great to create something of a counterculture, you know, media project or whatever. You know, going off my kind of experience and backstory in the media game. And those elements are still here. It's just we've added other elements and it's kind of taken on this form. And something that's been really great about the three of us collaborating together is that we've been very much open to just kind of following the rhythm and the flow of what's happening and kind of following what makes sense, and just being guided along by that and by all the evolution and stuff that happened in DAOs last year, all the great projects that we saw come through, and the rapid proliferation of sort of DAO tools, if you like, and tools for creatives to do stuff. All of those things are kind of coming together. And so the idea evolved for us that it was like, hey, yes, we can do things for ourselves, and that's cool, and we can be creatives in the space. But the very simple idea at first was like, well, it'd be cool to create a community and all that, and ultimately to be sharing, Web3 tools and how to do stuff to help each other learn how to come in. Because I guess you could say most creative people are not into Web3 yet. We are a vanishing minority. And we all have many friends who are artists, musicians, writers, designers, like all kinds of different things who aren't in this space yet. And we all have friends who are starting to get a bit curious about it. But as we mentioned in the initial post that we put out on Mirror, it's like, we all have those conversations with friends who are like, I think I'm interested to get into crypto, but they actually do nothing for 6 months or whatever, and come back and ask you the same question 6 months later, because those early steps are can be quite daunting or confusing. Like, what do you do first? So if nothing else, we hope the Voyager can be a place that makes sense over time. We can build it into a space that's like, if an artist or someone is interested to get in the Web3 thing, it's like, well, maybe go hang out at Voyager, because there's a whole bunch of people there. It's a super helpful and friendly place, and you can go start to get into it that way. And it's a lot more fun to do it together than trying to figure it out on your own. So that's the kind of, I suppose, the founding energy or our intention of the thing.
Yeah, like not a overload of information. And that's going to be really important. Like how to get really strong signal between the community and just people in general. Like for us to all have a really high signal relationship, and for people to come in, we don't know, they can just see that. So. We're going to have to really foster that, and a lot of one-on-one with people, and a lot of finding just sort of emergent of who you resonate with within the community and stuff like that. It's going to be really interesting, and we're going to have to find ways to make us all kind of talk to each other in a way which is cool, because it's not always natural. So that's good.
Yeah, so I think like we are all open to. I keep saying like the word experiment, but also the experiment also how to collaborate with each other. It's not. I don't believe it's just about what we are doing. How we are building the community, but also how, because we had a lot of conversation. Like we've been working at this for quite a while, and the idea is that we thought through who we want to engage and how. How do you build a community? There is not a recipe. It's up to us. And in our conversation, it always come up like, we want to have like as human as possible. Like the conversation should be as human as possible. Like we should really try to do one-on-one. Like the community starting from some of our friends too, because I think that's what it makes the most natural approach for us. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the next months.
Cool.
Yeah, I wanted to give a quick. I'm conscious that we are recording this, so some people will be listening on delay. So hello to those people as well, and huge shout out to everyone who's here live in,
Thank you so much.
Space. And so much appreciation for the people who are here right now, but for everyone. Seeing all the applications come in over the last month or so has kind of been pretty astonishing and awesome. I feel like we have a much more specific sense for like who's already shown up and applied, and the range of talent and experience in different creative fields that everyone's coming from is super exciting at this early stage when we've barely begun. Like the people that have already shown up are already a super exciting collection of people that I feel like you guys who are members in the Discord right now we haven't yet had the opportunity to start rolling that out, and for all of us to kind of realize who's already here. And so I just shared like a little screenshot of that diagram from our first blog post that we created to kind of just give like a visual impression of how we imagine the sort of the wavelengths going in here, that we have these different vibes of art, music, media other things as well. We're kind of simplifying by categorizing just for those three, but you know what I'm saying. There'll be others as well, of course. But the idea being that we're all here, we're all sharing space, we're all just like jamming on what we do and what we're into, and then along the way that we have sessions like this, like we have open AMAs, open communication sessions. We're all like super deep into the DAO research and you know, the most conducive ways to build communities, the most interesting ways. Ideally, we'll as a community innovate and create new things that work for us. And you know, a great success for us would be, you know, creating amazing ways of doing things that can go out into the greater DAO ecosystem and be adopted by other artists and creative groups. Like, that'd be cool if we can kind of create an own culture that becomes appealing for others. You know, but we've kind of like written in here, we've got, okay, town hall is something like what we're doing right now. Music sessions, we have ideas about, you know, whether it's like a weekly catch up or something, chatting to, the first record that we've put out on our new baby record label thing, with John T, who's a friend of mine from Sydney and an artist who's done stuff on Stone's Throw, and he's a really epic individual. So me and him have been chatting about stuff for sort of the music side of Voyager, and we're talking about how often in local scenes and in cities and stuff like that, there'll be things that are a little bit like a regular catch up where people just come and play their beats and share what they're working on, and you can kind of just share it with the group, vibe with each other, get feedback, potentially be sharing sample packs with each other, and just like having a good time in that way. And he was saying, like, back in the day when he was living in LA and he was chatting to Flying Lotus about that very concept, and he then was, I think this was like 2011, 2012, was saying, oh yeah, it's amazing. Years ago, we used to have something like that where we could share beats and all that kind of stuff, and how great that was. So we think, you know, that would be something really cool that we could kick off here. Maybe it lives in Discord for the time being, but ultimately with all the musicians that we have joining, and we're definitely, you know, that I suppose that's a point of focus for us, is inviting the musicians in. We can start to have like regular catch-ups and have fun kind of listening to each other's music and all that kind of stuff. And then we also have things in here that are alluding to kind of learning type things. So we can be here on the stage, and we're intending to program some stuff. So the founders or builders from other projects and DAOs, and, you know, I don't know, like an NFT series or whatever it is, we can have people doing happening stuff in the industry, have them come in, chat with us, share their knowledge and all that, and we can have a good time with that. So I suppose that's a little bit of an education stream, if you like, and a way for us to kind of bring more value into this community over time, continually build. And then another thing here, and I want to throw back to Luke, is the concept of kind of doing meditation sessions and what that is all about, whether meditation or other forms of kind of centered practice and resonance. And a big part of our philosophy, which I think we communicated in the first blog post, is the idea that, yeah, as I said before, the internet is a very noisy and distracting place. The modern world is in general, and all that kind of stuff. And that we hope that we can kind of foster a space in which we can successfully quieten the mind, center ourselves, and ultimately pursue something of a, you know, a healthy flow state way of being as much as possible.
Yeah.
Cool. Shall we? What's next? Shall we?
Oh, sure. Well, with all those many things, yeah. Sky Magic has dropped some pretty solid questions over into the stage chat. I wonder, I'd be pretty curious to see as well whether, should we throw on to answering questions, or should we see whether we can actually bring anybody up on the stage? It'd be nice to hear someone's voice. Possible to do. Is anyone here able to, like, if anyone would like to say hey to the group? Not sure if anyone's technically. Oh, here we go.
Cool, hands up.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, King. And I think we invite him to speak right now.
Lucas Guzman 3D.
Hey guys.
Hey, Lucas.
Hey, Ivano. I got the
Hey,
invite from Ivano, and I'm pretty happy to be
yes,
here. Thanks for.
yeah, good
Um, it's
to
I
have
like
you here.
I like what I hear so far. It's
Cool.
very interesting what you guys are creating. Ivano explained me a little bit more of the ideas, so yeah, I'm pretty excited to be part of this. Because we share similar ideas on different chats on another project that I'm making similar, and yeah, so
Yeah.
really want to give you guys
Hey,
some good vibes and energies, and I love what you guys are making, and I want to see more of this.
yeah, so just I
Thanks.
will try to give an introduction of Lucas. I know that he could be shy, but Lucas is a really good 3D artist, and he works a lot with the AR and 3D. He has also started a community, and he also does like all sort of work with filters, and then now he's getting into making wearables. If I'm correct, Lucas, like I think
Cool.
Yeah,
you did like a wearable for the central and like
yeah,
last
I'm waiting for them
week.
to get approved, and I will release a collection with a Dutch company that we're making things for the metaverse. Yeah, so I want to also. I'm actually gonna make like the something like 25 wearables this month.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm gonna enter the space full force with wearables.
So it's good to see also like how other people approach these, and like art can come in all different sort of shape and media and all that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lucas. And should we
Yeah.
bring up the other?
So,
You have any questions you want to ask us?
what's your main? Because so far you've talked about things that you're gonna do with your music label. This Web3 as well that you're gonna use for the DAO. Different, but what's your scope of the people that can join? Right? Will it be a sort of a reason to be connected, a main goal for one of us, or it's just like open to any sort of art making person?
I think, well, Nick's probably best to talk to that, but I think it's pretty open to any medium of art. If, yeah. But
Yeah, yeah. I would say like, so obviously we have an application process as a filter to kind of, I mean, if you guys are in other Discord servers and stuff that kind of get up to that feverish amount of noise and craziness of people who are trying to get on an NFT mint list or whatever it is, right? So we have that filter there, but ultimately like pretty much any creative person that kind of shows up and vibes and resonates with what we're doing, is being allowed to join basically. And I think going forward that's pretty much what it's about. We have a bit of an ethos of being open in that way, and being a space that's ultimately for the creative rather than for ourselves, if that makes sense. So I suppose that's kind of the energy that we're bringing for that. Was there another part of your question there, I think, about like what's the...
No, that was basically it. Yeah. So what sort of filter will be there? What kind of people can I invite in as well? Right. So I just wanted to make sure that, because also in my community, I have people that are doing digital fashion. Then you have others that are making virtual reality, or other people are making games. So they're more of the developer kind. So yeah, just trying to see. Yeah.
Totally. All those people are welcome. Like, absolutely, we're going to have developers and even, sort of Web3 tech type people in here, no doubt. And of course, we'll be open to, fashion, VR, game builders, like all these different realms. And I suppose it's going to be on us to kind of organize the Discord in a way that works for everybody and is kind of useful for everybody. But it just seems like an opportunity to kind of create a space that enables this sort of like cross-pollination and influence and potential for collaboration between people in different fields. Without, and we've had this question coming in a little bit of like, okay, so is this all about like creating for collaboration between people or whatever? And I guess that sense is like, we're not aiming to be prescriptive about that. and like matching people up and saying, you guys will do an art now or whatever. It's like people become friends in here and like, oh, sick, you're a designer. Oh, I'm doing a music project, or hey, it'd be great to collab on something for some wearables in Decentraland or something, or whatever it evolves into. It's like, great, that's great. It's a bit of the meeting on the open playa and becoming friends and doing whatever you want. You know, that's great. So it's on us just to kind of help create an inviting space for creatives to come in, because as we mentioned before, like the sort of the whole Web3 or even the concept of a DAO for many people is like, what are you talking about? That's not for me, you know. So we can make something where anyone can invite their friends in and they can have a good time.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah,
these
that's what
other people the request to speak.
Yeah,
Should
let
we
me
move
enable
on?
both those right now.
Thanks, Lucas, for
No
showing.
problem. So I'm leaving the back to
It's
the
nice
audience.
to
Thank you,
nice
guys.
to be here.
Thanks, Lucas.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks.
Hey guys.
Hello.
What up? What up?
Hello.
Hey.
So, who's going to go with the first question? Is you Sky Magic or?
Oh, sure, I can go. So, hi. My name is Stuart. I am an
Hey,
engineer
Stuart.
and an artist. Generative artist, I guess, is my most recent label. But yeah, I work in crypto. Actually, I work in California, and like I'm doing the whole Silicon Valley startup thing, but also doing art on the side. And yeah, I really like the idea of Voyager, that it's like just a space away from the craziness of Web3. Like it's part of Web3, but it's away from like the airdrops and the prestige chasing and finding the next Bitcoin. And I also like that you are kind of declaring this an experiment. I think it's a good basis for building anything. That's how I approach my art. Like when I say this is an experiment, then it allows me to express more freely. So I think it's also a good way to establish a community.
Cool.
Yeah, so I dropped a bunch of questions.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just start with the first one. So I've been joining a bunch of DAOs recently because my friends launched DAO, which is a DAO to launch DAOs.
Yeah.
And it's really, really easy to make DAOs. So I'm in like a book club DAO and all these different DAOs. And it's a lot about incentives there, trying to actually put the incentives in the code or in the governance structure somehow.
Yeah.
So there's not really a DAO yet, but you plan on doing the zine and the catalog, which is cool. Yeah. So my question is, are there incentives to participate beyond things like self-promotion and belonging in this community?
Yeah. I'll definitely feel this one. So totally. I mean, like the fact that we went out and sort of opened this as season 0 of like, we're not a DAO yet, and all that. But wanting to kind of be able to communicate where we're going and what the intention is there, and what the plan is. I'm very, very in tune with these notions of like creating incentives for participation and what that whole thing is about. So ultimately, when we get to a season 1 place, which we're kind of figuring it out right now, but maybe that's in a couple or a few months from now, or where once the community is in kind of a healthy, good space, that we may have the sort of Genesis event, maybe a kind of fundraising event or whatever that is, or creation of a social token, native token for Voyager. And then, there's all the kinds of different things where you can kind of have working groups and people opting in to do certain things for the DAO, or creating proposals that are voted on by the community and all that kind of stuff. So at that stage, we kind of become like your more classical version of a creator DAO and a community project. I'd say the big picture thing is, yes, while we intend to create a zine and our curated catalog of art and stuff like built on Zora that's there, and ultimately a music label and some other projects, like I'd say the big picture is we're aiming to create a creative organization that has these different facets. We have a boss like media outlet and publication that we can all be really excited about. And we have this art catalog, and we have these different kind of properties, or you could say like broadcast communication channels or whatever. A creative organization has these different facets to it. And as an organization, it's collectively owned and governed by its members. So rather than it being like we're a tokenized community for vibing in a Discord and we also have a zine, it's more like, no, we intend to build something of a next generation of a Rolling Stone of now. And our, the art catalog could be something really exciting, really compelling, and these different properties. And ultimately, we all own them collectively and have an interest in them doing amazing things into the future. That's kind of what we have in mind in that way. So it's like, what is the DAO doing? It's like if Constitution DAO is setting out to buy the Constitution, or these other DAOs like, Moon DAO is going to send a member into space or whatever it is. It's like part of our big stuff is that we want to build an incredible publication into the future and an art catalog whole thing. And then maybe there'll be VR properties and all kinds of amazing creative things that are still to come and still to be revealed from this community, and will ultimately come from within, from our members will, want to do certain things or whatever it is. So the interest in joining and participating is that we're all building this thing together, which we're only in season 0 right now. And who knows what it looks like in a couple of years from now. So that's kind of like the big dream and vision for what it is.
I love that.
Yes, sorry. I wanted to add another quick comment as well on this, because you noted on reasons to participate beyond self-promotion and dropping stuff into the Discord, and that's something that we're really keen to kind of communicate on. And in coming into a resonance together, is that we'd love for these channels in the Discord and stuff to become places for conversation of really diving deep into what's happening right now in relation to, for example, music and Web3 and what's going on there, and kind of sharing what we're seeing and kind of becoming something like generating that cafe culture, that kind of conversation point. We can kind of meet and talk about what's happening and what we're inspired by, and dope projects that we see out in the industry that are, presenting a really interesting way or a fresh approach and all that kind of stuff. But we also have channels that are for sharing our works in progress and what we're doing, and some sense of being able to, I suppose, promote ourselves to the other members that are here, and all that kind of stuff is super healthy and things that we should be doing. But yeah, ultimately we're keen to kind of evolve the culture to not just be about, hey, I just dropped this, and hey, I just did this, and whatever, which is like, it's fine, but we kind of, we're kind of going for something bigger. If we're building this amazing organization together, then it's also a great place to, like, I want to hang out in Voyager because I want to chat about stuff that we're all most interested in. And that's a reason to be here as well.
Yeah, we want to put an highlight on the daily practice, or in the art practice that each of us have. This is the main goal, more than the result. Often it's like, oh yeah, what is your practice like? What do you do? So other artists can get inspiration from you, or find the motivation.
Yeah, like not only that, but like every person who really is getting into this practice becomes like an antenna for the sort of larger signals of our planet, etc. So hopefully these conversations will become really in pulse with what's happening in the world. So I mean that is a very valuable thing to connect to. So I don't know what it's going to look like with multiple people making art, and if we're going to be able to read like signals from it, but I'm imagining in the experiment that would work. And even if it becomes one of us starts to distill down what people are making into tangible kind of readings. Anyway, it's going a bit deep, but that stuff is kind of a good idea.
Yeah, not to mention that we're all different, and like I'm down to vibe in the Discord and chat about stuff and share links and stuff, like reading, and like that's how I like to do stuff. Some people don't want to hang out on Discord at all. And that's fine. Like we want to be able to create something that is still cool for everyone to be looped in with and to get whatever it is they want out of it. Stuart had some other good questions I'd like to touch on quickly, but we also had Jay Haney here in the chat too. I'd love to say, hey, how's it going?
Hey guys, how's it going? Definitely loving this Discord, loving the message. My name is Jahini Art, originally from Ghana, but based in London. I'm a 2D artist. I've been in the space from probably last year, March/April kind of times. Didn't do too well with kind of selling my NFTs so got really frustrated, but then focused that energy into kind of more documenting and helping to onboard artists into the space. So I've created like reports to help like onboard artists into the space that's got like, you know, analytical data, marketing data, marketing help, strategies, security, and all of that sort of thing. And I've kind of turned into more of a documenter into this space, you know, helping share information, to be honest. So that's kind of like me in a rough, short, very, very short nutshell. But I wanted to ask, I didn't manage to read through your mirror post with regards to purchasing NFTs, and I wonder if you can just briefly explain. Sorry for my ignorance if you kind of mentioned it already, but if you can briefly explain what one gets when purchasing the NFT.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's like the Flow NFT, the kind of first little video loop one that we put in the debut mirror post. And I guess on that, it's a little, I suppose it's a little non-specific by design, but it's ultimately about your, as you can say, on-chain recognition as being a collector of the very first NFT from Voyager, which ideally may become historically kind of an interesting, fun thing to own years from now, when Voyager ideally becomes this wild, crazy thing that we're all a part of. But beyond that as well, through on-chain recognition with retroactive benefits as the community kind of grows, as we've seen with many other projects. It's like by collecting some of these early NFTs at the very early stages, you can kind of be rewarded later on in other ways, in other creative ways. If we have all these other projects that are coming through, and potentially in the future with the kind of creation of a token here as well, I feel compelled not to speak too specifically about it because that seems pretty gross and not the way that we would do things, you know. But yeah, it's kind of with that intention that we can give lovely rewards and gifts to people into the future who collect these kind of very early NFTs.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely super cool. I definitely would as soon as I make 1 or 2 moves on the market, I definitely wanted to purchase one of that. Also, I just wanted to say, what is part of, or obviously you might not be able to comfortably talk about it right now, but part of your season 1, would there be any like documentation that you're going to be kind of creating and stuff? And I'd definitely love to help in that, because I'm currently in the Water and Music DAO, and I'm doing a couple helping interviews in that. So I definitely want to up my documentation skills and helping be like a valid member of whatever DAO that I'm kind of in. So definitely be interested in helping out with like diagrams and whatever the case is.
That's awesome, man. I'll answer very quickly and then turn to Luke and Ivano. But I think season 0 is a lot of all of us kind of figuring stuff out a little bit, and as we start to kind of move in the direction of having a zine or having these different things, and or I think as Stuart asked in one of his questions about like creating more educational and onboarding content or all these kinds of things, ideally these can be sort of projects that spring up that there's will be a few key things to kind of for us to create, and most likely some working groups will kind of spin up to kind of start building those out for the DAO. We have a new website on the way as well that we're intending to kind of build out. So yeah, I think absolutely there will be kind of creative projects like that to get involved with. We're conscious of the fact that before we actually have a DAO and like a real DAO and kind of have the tokens and stuff to be able to reward participation, all that kind of stuff, we're going to be finding different ways that we can be doing that, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think we will have things happening. Sorry if my brain is becoming unhinged.
Sorry, it's early for you, dude. And January, that's cool, man. And thanks for coming up with questions and that. And yeah, I guess we'll start. That's a good conversation to start. And I think we're going to start working on the branding and stuff as well, which will inform a lot of what kind of media we start to make. And that's really cool.
Yeah, it's like we have like early ideas for what the zine might be about, or what the catalog might be about, and all that kind of different things like that, and ultimately forming little groups with people that have joined already who are keen to get involved and kind of contribute their ideas. I think would be a really fun way to go about it.
Yeah, and we are in the process of making things. Of course, we have our goals and plans, but also I don't know if we are planning too much. Like the shape of it is, we're going to be surprised by what is going to happen. Like in the next months, things can potentially change if it feels the right thing. But
the most important thing is for us to make a really good thing for us to center around. That's like a solid sort of foundation, and then everything else that emerges out of it is just going to be a bonus in a sense. It's not going to be a bonus, it's going to be what we make, but it's, we're going to make art around what we're centering around, and hopefully we can center around this really healthy way to live with our medium of choice. So
okay, thank you very much. Definitely, thanks for the information. And one last thing before I go rambling on, I definitely want to be more knowledgeable about VR, especially for more of my art, because I definitely want to represent my art in some, cyber IO spaces with VR type capabilities, or even in real life using like QR codes and stuff. So.
Cool.
Any VR type stuff, beginner introductions into VR, definitely do drop it in one of the channels. I'll be definitely looking to read and study that.
Yeah, man. Even if we just take you on a session, just take you on a deep dive.
Yes, please.
There will be more VR artists in the community joining already. A few of them they're in. So yeah, there will be a lot of VR in the making. Also, the way we meet, we are starting to meet in VR as well. So this coming back to the way we are doing things. We are also trying to challenge the way we work. It's not the agency way. That Luke is always like joking with me, because I tend to have a bit of more structure agency like mindset, and for me it's not easy to let it go and then make stuff in a different way. So
we were running pretty low on time. Do we have some other people who want to come up and talk or share anything? Please feel free to raise your hand. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah. And thanks so much for you cats for coming up before as well.
I can see Chris is being there. I don't know if he wants to talk. If you don't want, don't worry. But I've been talking with him for the past few weeks, because he's really into music, and his music is incredible. Like also the visual stuff he does, and he's an amazing practice with music, and also with illustration, and all sorts of stuff. So, but he's not coming.
That's all right.
I'm trying to win time.
Chris has a new tape
I think he put us on mute. You know, it's just like let it open, and it's like,
Yeah, it's only in this context that you figure out he's not actually listening.
yeah, I guess like I was talking about you too.
Maybe there's just a couple more questions that Stuart also asked. The other thing that we could maybe touch on very quickly. We need, he's saying we need education and tech support in Web3. Any thoughts around programs or workshops? And yeah, 100%. We hope that we can like organize workshops in here where we have brilliant people coming in to kind of share what they know, sharing tools with us. If you check out even on the Voyager website, we've got a toolkit on there that we're going to be building out where we're just linking to all kinds of recommended, various sort of Web3 tools and platforms and all that kind of stuff for creatives and all that. So we'll continue to build that out in the future. It will become a little more content rich. So yeah, we're definitely going to be doing education and stuff like that. We're also just about to launch a new podcast series very soon, in like 2 weeks from now. So it's going to be like a weekly show where we have a couple people in, either from within the community, but also from other projects and communities and stuff like that, which we hope through doing that and being in a regular flow of a weekly show, we can create a bunch of really helpful content and conversation points. So for instance, if we're interested to talk about music NFTs and Web3 music, we can create an episode that kind of gets into that, or the role of curation in Web3 and NFT art and stuff, and different cool stuff like that. So I guess ideally that will be helpful as well. He also said, going further, we also need engineers collaborating with artists. How can we find folks to collaborate with? Developers, as we all know, developers in Web3 are like the most rare unicorns to find. They're all extremely in demand. I guess the hope is that we're going to have developers dropping in and being a part of the community here. And as much as possible, again, the toolkit that we're building, ideally platforms are being built that creators can use, no code platforms. So ideally you won't even need a developer to go and ship the work that you want to do, or else with projects being done in here, we can kind of create pathways that we can sort of reverse engineer to kind of do new projects and stuff like that. But ultimately, we're hoping that this can also become a really popular place for developers and engineers to hang out, and we can attract them in to kind of collaborate with folks here, or like doing things that scale. So if we have a developer in to kind of do come on the Voyager stage and share, we can all ask some questions and do stuff like that as well, that we can all benefit from as much as possible, rather than going one-to-one where possible. But yeah, ideally you'll be able to recruit from within. Yeah, so there's some good questions. What is the plan for member participation in the curated catalog and zine? The plan is that we would like to start figuring that out in this month, in February, as far as, starting to get some of those groups and conversations going and all that, because certainly like the zine has been one that's really jumped up for people coming in their applications. Like, I'd love to do something with that. Sounds really interesting. So yeah, we'd love to start creating ways that people can get involved with that and start doing stuff. So I would say watch this space. We're going to start creating little activities and times together and all that. I'm just there's another question from Aureus. Sorry guys, feel free to chat while I look at this question if you like.
It's just what kind of skills do you think are wanted for this project to excel? Like us all, I have my artistic creations to give value, but the last few years I've mostly honed physical skills, and now I'm wanting to transition to Web3 online skills. There must be many like me with a solid amount of time and competence ready to cultivate skills, serve others. And for those who have to head, that's all cool. Thanks so much. Yeah, the skills that are needed for this, well, I mean, it just depends. Like, I think once, obviously, some of the more technical stuff, like the dev stuff, and that person will arise, I think, once we're going to do as much as we can. But for this project to excel, I honestly think that like having a really good energy, and that means that people need to be freaking healthy in their lives, and that probably means like they need to be financially healthy as much as they need to be like psychologically healthy as much as they need to be sort of in tune to the ups and downs of their own reality. So to excel means that, well, we hopefully we can deliver some things that help a bit for people to excel, but I don't have the exact skill set.
I think it's broad in that way. As we're saying before, we're going to have creatives coming in from all different formats and mediums, and and I say, like, this is all an experiment, and a lot of DAOs are communicating a similar thing. Like, we have a founding intention about focusing on the practice and making for an exciting place to be a part of, but we don't know where it's going to go, because a lot of this is quite new in general, which is what is cool and exciting about it. It's like, we don't know what happens when you jam everybody together and just encourage them to do what they want to do together and have a good time. So I think that's what's exciting about the whole thing overall. And as far as like transitioning into Web3 and online skills, we're going to have many creatives and members joining that haven't done anything in Web3, or maybe they haven't even set up an Ethereum wallet and all that kind of stuff. I feel like onboarding in the crypto space is so vital, so important. You see a lot of good stuff happening right now with communities such as Crypto Coven and others that are really focusing on being a welcoming space, helping people in. And for that, we need to be either creating onboarding content or having sessions and stuff that kind of help people get set up, because there is a ramp in. That the joke is like, if you want to get into crypto, well, here's 10 articles to go and read and go listen to 5 hours of podcasts, and you should be about right. But there is a certain number of hours that you need to burn to really kind of get up to speed. So ideally, we can make that experience as good as possible, and ultimately, we can give you the 5 articles to read. Do you know what I mean? Rather than you just going out and trying to Google for it and getting lost down rabbit holes. We hope that we can curate an experience that kind of helps people get up to speed. And ideally not get your wallet hacked and all that kind of stuff. Helping you out on the security side, how to take care of yourself, how to be online on the new internet. And it's all things that we need to think about.
Well, we're at an hour, so we should probably wrap it up a bit. Is there any last things you guys want to say? Or any last questions from anyone?
Yeah, again, super appreciate everyone dropping in. Super appreciate it. And shout out to the mixtape project from Jonty as well. That, aside from our debut post on Mirror and stuff, is one of the first works that's come through from our brand new community. So if you're hearing this, go take a listen, because I dig it. The mixtape's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I think we should probably finish it there. Is that good with you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Thanks everyone for joining live. Super appreciate it. Super appreciate your interest, and look forward to chatting in Discord. And we'll be organizing like regular events like this, and more like themed events and topics of conversation, and ultimately inviting members of the community to come up and be speaking at these things as well. So super looking forward to that. Yeah.
And we're super open. Also, anything that resonates with you, hit us up. Let's start the conversation, get these relationships going. This is our first audio-based thing, so I would love to hear from anyone.
I don't have much to say to add. Thanks, guys, for being here, and let's talk soon.
All right, everyone. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thanks so much.
Good night, everybody.
See ya. Bye.